Were you more partial to Tecmo Bowl or Tecmo Super Bowl or Tecmo 2 or Tecmo 3? What was your preference?
I would say Tecmo Super Bowl, the second one that came out that had all the teams.
Yeah.
And we spent so many hours. Ethan and I would spend weekends playing that game, tournaments. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
yeah.
I love those tournaments.
No using the nose tackle trick.
Yeah.
Unless you were the Eagles, the only way you got away from it. Like, yeah.
The Eagles.
Right.
Well, and I hated playing Brent. Remember those fast thumbs? Brent had those like insane thumbs.
Yeah.
Like when it was a cheater, man. I was like,
Well, he's the
God dang it,
Jackrabbit.
Brent. He's the Jackrabbit.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why he had that nickname. That's why.
That's why. Yep. It's genetic. I was spliced with the Jackrabbit.
Sure. The thumbs. We'll leave it at that in case your kids find this, Brent.
You're listening to the Josh and Friends podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Josh and Friends podcast. I am your host. My name is Josh. And this week, Ethan and Brent joined the show for a very special Seahawks episode, where today we'll be discussing our top 3 most underrated players in franchise history, along with our very own predictions for the 2023 season. So let's get right into this and help me welcome back to the program. Here are my football analysts for today, Mr. Brent Kipling and Ethan McDuff. Yes! Seahawks! All right. You guys ready for some football?
Yeah.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah. Can't freaking wait.
Let's get into this, man. So we are here today to discuss our top 3, I say 2, our top 3 selections for the most underrated Seahawks of all time. So we came up with some rules to this. So obviously any Hall of Famers would be out. No, Kenny Easley's, Walter Jones, Hutchinson, Cortez, Steve Largent. We also discussed that any of the Seahawks Ring of Honors, because they're so highly respected in Seattle, everybody knows the names. They're hanging on banners. Dave Brown, Sean Alexander, Jacob Green, Matt Hasselbeck, Dave Craig, Kurt Warner. They're all going to be excluded. And even Ethan brought this up just before we started this. The guys that are future Hall of Famers or future Seahawk Ring of Honor guys. And we kind of figured that it would be like, a lot of the 2012 guys, right?
Yeah. Legion
Thomas.
of Boom, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas,
Right.
Richard
Exactly.
Sherman. Obviously, Bobby Wagner, who's still even playing for us, is going to probably be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So there's just guys that obviously have earned the respect of the league, like you said, because of that incredible run and a couple Super Bowl appearances and the defense that we had and just the chaotic, fun nature of Russ doing his thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, a lot of the players on this list that we came up with were key to the team's success. Ethan, where are you, buddy?
I just accidentally hit my desk and the camera fell off.
Are you back in the kingdom back there or what?
I am. Fell into the kingdom, man. I went to go get like a hot dog and a Pete Ralph.
So a lot of the players on this list, they might be like utility guys who are key to the team's success. Some might be great players that were overshadowed, by other superstars on the team, or they could be players that were great, but just never got the respect because
they played in the 90s and we were trash.
And we were in Seattle.
One of mine's from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're up in Seattle, which is kind of like Alaska, up here in Seattle.
Yeah,
right.
Nobody
So
knows.
So what we've done is we've narrowed down our selections to just three players each, and we have a runner up too, right? We have a runner up, and we could talk about some of these, but these selections are who we think are the most underrated in Seahawks history. So Ethan, why don't we get started with? Should we start with you or should we start with Brent?
Let's at the newbie, the rook. Go
The
for it.
newbie? Okay. Well, I'm going to start with my third selection. So not my number 1 overall, but my third player is Darrell Jackson, actually, out of University of Florida. We know that he went to the Super Bowl with the Seahawks. He had 444 career receptions and over 6,400 yards with the Seahawks and 47 touchdowns with the Seahawks as well. And some people might not know that he had a then Super Bowl record, 5 receptions in 1 quarter in the Super Bowl against the Steelers.
Wow.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, some good stats. They don't talk about him a lot. I don't hear his name brought up a lot locally. So just a great player who helped us achieve some success and get to our first Super Bowl.
Right on, right on. I love that pick because he was known with me for dropping all his balls in the 2002-2003 season. So
right. He did have some,
but he was great when he would catch the ball.
Right.
I feel like we had a couple of receivers like that at that time. That was frustrating.
Yep. Corin Robinson, we're talking to you.
Oh,
all
geez,
right. There's a long list.
Okay, good choice there. Ethan, who do you have, buddy, for your first pick?
My first pick, obviously, you know me, Josh. I love defense. Played defense. I mean, I played offense too at times, but like just being an old D coordinator, so I think of some of the most underappreciated guys, and around that same time, Lofa Tatupu. Okay, like Lofa, and who knows, maybe someday we'll pull our head out of the ass and put him into the Ring of Honor ourselves. But that guy was just an absolute ball player. Flew around sideline to sideline, made so many clutch tackles. I mean, obviously we have the franchise great linebacker in a Bobby Wagner, and I'm sure a lot of people, albeit his career got shortened because of the whole Bosworth situation. Like Fred Young stands out as another incredible Seahawk middle linebacker.
Right.
But Lofa Tatupu is just a guy that I feel like sometimes doesn't get the respect that he deserves, and was just one hell of a football player for us for quite a long time. And so a lot of love to Lofa Tatupu.
Yeah, he was just stellar for 5-6 years, and then kind of fell off. But yeah, he was amazing. Yeah, and he was one of the most popular guys on the team.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Good human being too. Yeah,
one of those jerseys that everybody wore. All the guys would wear the Tatupu jersey, and then the girls would always wear the pink brown jerseys.
You wore one too, Josh. It's okay.
Just a couple times. All right. So the third person on my list is a man who played 10 years in the NFL, 8 of which were in Seattle from 1986 to 1993. And this player was selected to the Pro Bowl in 1990 and 1991. And he was one of those, kind of like one of those Roger Craig style running backs, fullbacks. And his total numbers are pretty much split down the middle. This is wild. He had 18 rushing touchdowns and 19 receiving touchdowns. And he ended up rushing for just over 5,000 yards and had 4,600 yards receiving. That's wild. So John L. Williams is my first pick.
Legend,
and I don't ever hear people talk about John L. anymore. And John L. was just solid, man. He was solid. You guys remember John L., right?
Oh, absolutely, man.
Love John L.
During that great time of that kind of 80s, end of the 80s, into the early 90s. And just like you said, like a jack of all trades that did so many things. And maybe because he was good at so many things and he didn't get incredible numbers. But honestly, some of those receiving numbers for a running back in that era of football, pretty outstanding. But once again, because he's in Seattle, I don't know if he ever got the recognition he deserved.
Yeah, I actually remember standing in line with Mike Zahn to meet John L. Williams. And this was in 1991 or so. And we were standing in a big long line, and then they just dropped down a big burger and fries, and he just stood there just taking his time eating a burger. And I was like, you know what? You know what? For anybody else, I'd be pissed off, but you know what? This is John L. We're gonna wait. We're gonna wait.
He deserves that burger and fries.
Right? He earned that.
Yep.
All right, Brent, who is your number 2 selection?
Number 2, and I'm going to go off of Ethan's tailcoats here, and I picked Lofa Tatupu as my number 2 player out of USC. He was first team All-Pro in 2007, went to 3 Pro Bowls straight, actually, from 05 to 07. Finished his Seahawks career with 550 tackles and 8.5 sacks. Just a solid middle of the defense player, the leader of our defense, and like Ethan said, just a great player for us for many years.
Absolutely. Can't go wrong with Tatupu. Yeah, his dad was the baller too, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you guys may not know this, but he's still pretty active with media locally. He does a lot of radio programs as well locally, so you still hear his name out there a little bit. But
awesome!
But they don't talk about him as this great player that he was for us.
Yeah, he was a very key performer. He was a very key player in those years, for sure.
Right.
All right, Ethan. So, who is your second selection on the list here?
My second selection, like I felt like I went and had to double check online like multiple times trying to figure out how is this guy not in the Ring of Honor? Because talk about back in the 90s, but also, just like production. And given, I think when you're in the shadow of a guy like Steve Largent, it's probably hard to get the respect following after Steve Largent. But Brian Blades is just like, when you go look at the career statistics of wide receivers for the Seahawks, he was so money. He was just an unbelievable player for us. Yet I don't hear him ever mentioned, and maybe it's because of, recency bias, because we love the Doug Baldwins and obviously the Tyler Lockett's. And I'll be honest, big play Jermaine Kearse. Come on, man. That's maybe one of the greatest receivers in all Seahawks history, just for the catches he made and clutch moments. Yeah. But Brian Blades played at a time where the Seahawks were pretty dreadful, to be fair. But he produced season after season. Like looking at some of his career receiving stats, like I think he's like only behind Largent in like receptions for the team, albeit maybe somebody's gonna come pass him up there. I think Baldwin fell just short. When it comes to like overall, 581 receptions. The yardage is incredible too, only second to Largent, albeit Lockett's probably gonna pass him the way we bomb the ball down the field these days. But just Blades was incredible. And so mad respect to Mr. Brian Blades and his brother Benny, an old Detroit Lion. My boy Kip used to be a Lions guy. But needless to say, big fan of Brian Blades. And it was really tough to not put him at number one. But I'm just shocked. Like, we've had enough years. How is this guy not in the Ring of Honor with everything he did for the franchise? Even if it's the period of our franchise most of us would like to drink and forget.
Right.
Brian Blades, you know what I remember about Brian Blades? Brian Blades, remember we had like a season with him and Largent, right, together?
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Largent like announces his retirement, but you know what? It wasn't as crazy. We weren't as scared like as we would normally be because Brian Blades did so well. We're like, oh wow, okay, so we actually have a guy that's going to be, we're going to be all right here. So
pass the torch a little bit, and,
and he was awesome, man. That guy, you're right. I don't hear people talk about Brian Blades, but like they used to. It could be because some of the legal stuff that happened afterwards, but
sure.
But maybe that's why he's not in the Ring of Honor. I don't know, but I think that's a solid pick. How about you, Brent?
Yeah, I remember Brian Blades fondly. I just remember, he took over that torch, and he was the guy for many years for us, and just consistent, very pro-like. Wasn't one of those, from what I remember, the show me receivers a lot of the receivers are now. He just came to work and did his job well.
I don't see anybody wearing Brian Blades jerseys either. Did they make Brian Blades jerseys? Like they had to, right?
Yeah,
he was like one of the stars of the team. Like,
right,
one of the only ones we had.
Right,
I think people like the Cortez Kennedy jersey more at the kind of given. He came a little bit later, but still, who knows?
I love Cortez.
I love
Rest in peace, Cortez. All right.
What's your number two, J Mac?
Yeah, my number two. So this player on my second selection on the list, which by the way, this list, I really don't like making these lists because they hurt my brain. Right. But this guy played all 14 seasons with Seattle from 1993 to 2007.
Wow.
He was elected to the Pro Bowl in 2005 and 2006, and he played a pivotal role in blocking for 3 1,000-yard rushers: Chris Warren, Ricky Watters, and Sean Alexander. This guy was an absolute machine, a workhorse. And everybody talks about Walter Jones and Steve Hutchinson, but nobody gives some people, so like the hardcore fans, like they know. But Max Strong. Strong.
Yeah, love
total
that.
Workhorse, fullback out of Georgia. Max Strong, I think he definitely 14 seasons. That's crazy. You're getting hit a lot.
Yeah.
14 seasons is a lot. So I think that he should get more cred.
How are him and John L. Williams both not in the Ring of Honor? Like, come on, man. Let's do this.
Yeah. So
who's in charge of this damn thing?
That's my number two.
Call Pete up, Heath. Call Pete. I know you met him before, so
there we go. Let's get it going. Pete Carroll, let's get this. I mean, not that he has probably any say on that. Get this fixed, Petey.
All right, Brent. Who's your number one? Who's your top guy?
All right, my top one. Now, you guys know me. I'm a big running back fan. My favorite player all time is running back, and I played running back. So I'm going to go from the same era as Ethan's last pick, and I'm going to pick Mr. Chris Warren. We touched on it briefly. Played for the Seahawks from 1990 to 1997. Two-time a second team All-Pro, 3 Pro Bowls with the Seahawks, 6,700 yards with the Seahawks, 46 touchdowns, had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons for the Seahawks, had a career best 1,545 yards in one season, 1994, and 15 touchdowns the next season. Now, largely why I picked him and why I think he's overlooked so much is during his time, his best record with the Seahawks, 9-7. Third best in the AFC West at the time. Never better than that. No playoff appearances. As you know, that's, like we said, the period we like to drink about and not think of for the Seahawks.
You mean like when you would make excuses to not go to games with me, Brent?
Oh,
I mean like that time we were that shitty?
Yeah.
My problem.
I mean, the ones when we did go to the games, we'd be laying out in the rafters of the Kingdom because
Nobody
there's
there.
nobody there.
Yeah. Brent, my only issue with this is this mother effer is the one that would run out of bounds at the end. He's the one that said, like, maybe we should move to, like, I can't stand Chris Warren just because of the crap that came out of his mouth. That's just my personal. She's like, when they were talking about the Bearings selling us and moving them to LA, and he's like, I would love a move to LA. And he said all this stuff. I'm like, F you, Chris Warren, you bitch. How about you stay in bounds and like turn back and quit running out of bounds? And I mean, I see all the running backs that are all punch drunk and everything. I'm probably a little harsh on that and I need to back off, but I'm just
Sean Alexander
pissed me off, but I do respect his talent. Sean Alexander was also another.
Yeah, he did.
I didn't love either of those guys.
He talked shit too. Yeah, when he first got here. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why Marshawn, man. It's my boy. That's my boy. But that's not what we're doing right now. So I'll stop. Never see Marshawn just run out of bounds.
I'll tell you though, it was fun partying with Chris Warren. He was fun to party with. I'll tell you that.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Why don't you tell us that story?
Oh, you don't know that story?
Yeah.
So,
we might, but the people need to know.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes,
well, so when I went down to see Paul McCartney, God, when was that? Down in 2013, something like that.
Wow.
It was that for, the Jimmy Kimmel show. The day before was the Seahawks game. I think it was the day before. And my buddy was like, hey man, there's a big Seahawks bar down in LA and we host these parties and Chris Warren's going to be the guy that's going to be at the party. So they're going to be, like giving them like, I don't know, $500 or whatever to make an appearance. So he comes out and they're like, they sat me right next to him and they're like, all right, so, hey, make sure that, kind of like everybody keeps their distance and stuff. And I'm like, oh, so I'm like literally like working now. I'm like,
right.
I'm like, all right. So, so they knew that I was the 12th man guy. So like, all right, I was going to, be able to respect him and stuff like that. So here I am. And we're just, everyone's bringing up shots and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, this is going to get out of control fast. And he's not turning away any shots.
Wow.
So basically like the people that were buying him shots, he's like, I can't do all of these shots. So he'd slide them over to me. And I'm like, whoa, okay. I'm like, I'm not really a shot guy, but all right, I'll do some shots. So like here we are like doing shots and stuff. And then he got so hammered by like the halftime that he goes, hey man, take my phone. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with your phone?
He doesn't want to be doing some drunk texting his exes.
Well,
or something.
I don't know. I think he was afraid that he's going to lose it. So he goes, just watch this. And I was like, all right, put it in my pocket. And I'm like, all right. So, and then I don't know, halftime was getting close to, the end, but everyone's like, hey man, where's Chris Warren? Anybody seen Chris? And I go, I guess I'll go find him because I'm the guy that's watching him, I guess.
Right.
Doing your job, Josh.
So, and I got his phone. So I'm like, he can't leave without his phone, I guess. So we go out and I go out the side and around the corner and he's out talking to people and they're like, hey man, like, of course they're like talking about doing more shots. I'm like, man, no more shots, man. Like he's already hammered. Right.
Yeah.
And so I go, hey man, I have your phone. He goes, yeah, okay, that's cool. He goes, put it back in your pocket. And I go, all right, that's weird. Like, am I going to just hold your phone like for the end of the game? So anyway, I tried to get him back in and he's just like, just think about it. Like everybody in a bar, like buying you shots. I remember doing like promos with Spike O'Neal and he'd be like, all right, hey guys, I got to drive home tonight. So you guys can't keep buying me shots. I know you want to, but thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Buying me shots. So, but Chris Warren wasn't. He wasn't turning down any of it. And I go, hey man, I got you a drink. And I tried to trick him. I was like, hey, I got you a drink. And I go, here. And he goes, what is this? And I go, just drink it. And he's like, it's water. And he like poured it out right on the. I was like, shit. And this is like in the bar. And I was like, oh shit. So he wasn't like sober by the end of the night.
Yeah, I can
imagine. But it was fun. It was actually fun. And it was in LA. So that's where he wanted to be. Right, Ethan?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So
right.
good for you, Chris Warren. Sit on your thumb and spin.
Yeah. Oh, Harold.
All right.
Come on.
That's
Come on.
a
I'm
little
team.
rough.
I'm
That's
team Chris.
Really, yeah.
I'm team Chris.
He sounded like he was a good time. He was cool to you, and
I
you
got
probably
his
still
phone
have his
back
phone.
to. No, but
okay,
you know what I was saying? To myself, I was like, if I, me as a 15-year-old kid or 14-year-old, whatever, how old we were when he was like running, it was like, if you would have thought that I'm like babysitting Chris Warren in a bar, like,
Okay.
with his phone in my pocket.
What world does that happen?
This is bizarre. But no, he was cool. He's like, hey man, where are we going after this? And I'm like, what do you mean where we're going after this? We're gonna go downtown. We're gonna go. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you can be my wingman. I go, me, your wingman? No. That's not how this works. You played in the NFL.
You're like, you're my wingman.
Right. That's what I said. Yeah.
They're going to attract them like flies to shit, and then you just stick it to a couple to me.
And he still looks like he can play. He's a huge dude. I was like, dang, man. Like, yeah. He's like, I don't know what he is, like 6'3", 6'4", big dude.
Yeah, he was like a 220, 230 pound running back.
Yeah. And he was good. Ethan can't take that away from him. He was awesome. He was one of the stars of the team.
I do respect the contributions he made, like I said, during a time where we were dreadful. So it was just more my frustration of that stuff. And I'm an emotional fan, as you can tell.
Yes.
Okay.
For better or for worse.
All right. So who's next? Is it Ethan?
Now, guys, I don't know if this guy technically is going to be like breaking the rules of like what we said or not, but he's not in the Ring of Fame, which blows me away, or the Ring of Honor. And I hope they put him in because talk about one of the guys that led our team in history in interceptions, second to only Dave Brown. One of the second leader in tackles behind Bobby Wagner, a guy that I absolutely loved, even if he did, I think, finish his career with Green Bay or something like that. But that was just because of the nature of the business. I think he wanted to stay in Seattle. Big love to 41 Eugene Robinson. I mean, that guy is one of the all-time great Seahawks, and how he is not in the Ring of Honor is just another one. Him and Blades in particular. And you can make it argument for like Michael Sinclair, like one of the other side. I mean, there's other people, but it's just like, what are we doing? Like Eugene Robinson was everything. He was such a personality. He was great in interviews. He was hilarious. I mean, just there's nothing to not love about Eugene Robinson. He probably had some off the field stuff too that I don't remember. I'm sure he did.
He definitely did, especially for how religious he was. But
did he end up having a lot of girlfriends or something?
Remember, he went to Atlanta, and the night before the Super Bowl, he picked up a hooker or something like that. Yeah, but no, you know what? Funny. The funny thing is, Ethan, I have Eugene Robinson as my number one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Joshua.
Yeah. It's crazy how good this guy was. And by the way, 16 seasons in the NFL. Think about that.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's like old school stuff right there, man. From 1985 to 1995, he was the backbone of our secondary. We talk about Chris Warren and we talk about Cortez. He was the third guy, the only guy that was ever spoken about really on our team, right? Like those were the three guys. Yeah, two defensive guys,
production,
and then Chris Warren. So like, it's wild like how good he was, and I don't think that people talk about how good this guy was. Maybe because he kicked around at the last part of his career, but he took two of those teams to Super Bowls. How crazy is that? Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Yeah. So he this is crazy. There's only 11 players in NFL history who have more interceptions than he had in his career, with 57 total interceptions. Four of those individuals are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Like,
wow.
So
come on, dude, give some respect.
So yeah, my pick is definitely Eugene Robinson, number 41. I agree with Ethan. He is the most underrated Seahawk in history. So yeah, Brent.
Yeah, I definitely agree. One of my favorite players growing up as well. I love the safeties. Kenny Easley being probably my favorite Seahawk of all time. But also a shout out to Tecmo Bowl. He was one of my favorite players to be on the Tecmo Bowl defense. Ethan Robinson right back there. So
now, were you more partial to Tecmo Bowl or Tecmo Super Bowl or Tecmo 2 or Tecmo 3? What was your preference?
I would say Tecmo Super Bowl, the second one that came out that had all the teams.
Yeah.
And we spent so many hours. Ethan and I would spend weekends playing that game, tournaments. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love those tournaments.
Tournaments were epic. Those were epic, man. Whole summer.
Right?
Playing every game. Like nine guys, or I don't know how many guys that last one a day.
We played full seasons in like a weekend, just binge. Yeah.
A lot of kids are out like drinking, partying, having crazy times, and we're like, all right, so you're up. Who's playing who? Who's playing?
Play your game. Play your game.
No using the nose tackle trick.
Yeah.
Unless you were the Eagles, the only way you got away from it. Like, yeah.
The Eagles.
Right?
Well, and I hated playing
Yeah,
Brent.
yeah.
Remember those fast thumbs? Brent had those like insane thumbs.
Yeah.
Like when it was a cheater, man. I was like,
Well, he's the
"God dang it, Brent."
Jackrabbit.
He is the Jackrabbit.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why he had
Yeah.
that nickname. That's why.
That's why. Yep. It's genetic. I was spliced with the jackrabbit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sure. The thumbs. We'll leave it at that in case your kids find this, Brent.
So did we all made our picks?
Let's go on.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're
Awesome. So, all right. Now, who are some of the guys that you guys had at like your alternate spots? I mean, I definitely had Brian Blades. He was right there.
Yeah.
Right.
As
Brent,
one of
go
my
ahead. Who'd you
runner-ups.
have?
I picked this guy because I wanted to give some love to the linemen out there. I picked Brian Millard actually as one of my honorary mentions. Played for the Seahawks for 8 years. Started pretty much every game for 5 years. Second team all conference. Paved the way for some of the great running backs in Seahawks history, and just consummate professional. He's a guard, so that they don't get talked about very much. So
That's a good pick. I like that.
pick.
That's a deep. I love it. I love that pick.
And also, that's when I fell in love with the Seahawks, mid '80s, when I started really getting into football. And he's one of the guys that just made it enjoyable for me.
That's awesome. Ethan, how about you, man?
I've got a list, buddy. I
I
can't
do
help
too,
myself.
man.
I was trying, but like
Yeah.
you said, this is like this hurts the brain. Like, come on, dude. Rufus Porter.
I had
Right.
Rufus there too. I had Rufus.
Yeah, Rufus Porter was a big one.
Yeah.
I had John L. Williams as the guy that was right under because I just had deep love for John L. Number 32, baby. Loved it. In fact, I think one time I drew 32 on a T-shirt when we were playing at recess or lunch at Cascade. And I just took a pen one day in class and wrote 32. And then I made people call me John L. Williams on the tennis court football that we played. Yeah, true story. A guy who's probably going to get his due, but I mean, and given he's part of that, the 12 team. So, but Doug Baldwin, just, I don't know that he always got the respect just because some of the flashier Golden Tates, those kind of guys.
Right.
It's similar to KJ Wright. I just love KJ Wright.
Oh, yeah.
Just the fact that he's stuck around and just like he's still around in the community doing great things, but just I don't think anyone gives the appreciation to him that he deserves, at least from maybe the national. I think deep Seahawk fans, we all know and love KJ Wright because we know
Sure.
exactly what he means to this team.
Mhm.
It was a bummer too when he went and played for the Raiders. As much as I used to kind of be a Raider fan, it's like no, that's just not right. Dave Craig, obviously, I have love for Dave Craig. I don't know. I mean, and then Michael Sinclair, like one of the all-time sack leaders too, and great defensive lineman. And Fred Young, I already mentioned, but Fred Young was a guy that just sucks to see how the Bosworth situation relegated a better linebacker to being, I think, stuck with a really shitty Colts team for the rest of his career. And he could have been the heart and soul of our defense because Fred Young was legit.
Yeah, that's a good list. I had I had some of the same guys: Brian Blades, Rufus Porter. Now, one of these guys he may be known for playing for a different team more than the Seahawks, but I think because Chad Brown,
Yeah, Chad Brown was so way up there. Tackles
Chad
and
Brown.
sacks and
known as a Steeler for the first part of his career, but he actually spent more seasons with the Seahawks than he did with the Steelers.
Wow.
He played from 1997 to 2004, playing 8 seasons for the Seahawks.
wow.
And he was elected
Great
to the Pro
production.
Bowl twice in 1998 and 1999. So, I mean, he was solid, man. He was like one of those guys that were like, he's one of the best guys during that period of time. He was one of the best guys on the team. So he was up there. I had, as much as I don't like the flag football thing with Joey Galloway, but man, have we ever had like that kind of a superstar? Like as far as like that kind of
talented.
speed and like he's nuts. I mean, this guy was crazy good. And like he's one of those guys where you're like, hey, just throw the ball up. He'll run under it like wherever you throw it because he's that fast. But didn't he like throw like, or didn't he like run like a 4.2 or 4?
So
like,
fast.
He was insanely
Something
fast.
crazy. Yeah.
It was
Well,
crazy.
one of the other guys, and if I forgot him, my boy Robbie Williams would find me and slap me because he's another Wilson high grad. Marcus Trufant, local kid, right?
Yeah.
Trufant was a tough cornerback for us. Did a fantastic job. Then he played like Washington State or something. Like he kept it like local. Just a guy that a lot of respect. I know Robbie would be upset as a fellow Wilson Ram if I didn't mention the great Marcus Trufant and what he meant to this community through his entire career.
Yeah. And you know what? What's funny is my number one runner up, I skipped him for some reason. I had him written down, but I rolled right past him. This was crazy because I had to check a couple times. I thought he was already in the Ring of Honor. I fully thought that he was. This guy, I almost had him in my top 3. This is one of these, painful moments that I had where I have to make a choice, right? But he played 15 seasons in the NFL. Ethan and I talked about this in the episode that we did about the diehards. Joe Nash.
I love Joe Nash. I had him on my list. How did I not say him?
Joe
Nash, the mustache.
Joe Nash, the mustache. No, so listen to this. This is so nuts.
Injuries.
Think about this. Think about this. Playing the position he did all 15 seasons for the Seahawks. 15 seasons. Just to point out how crazy that is, that the average defensive lineman in the NFL, how long do you think they last in the NFL, Ethan?
Oh man, if they're lucky, probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would say 4 to 6 years tops.
3 seasons.
Okay.
Wow.
Overshot it.
He spent 15 seasons with the
Joe
Seahawks.
Nash, man, just workhorse.
So
Love
naturally, he owns the record, the all-time record for starts with the team with 218. He was also elected the Pro Bowl in 1984 with that classic team, and he is one of the members of the Diehards with Jeff Bryant and Jacob Green. Jacob Green's on the ring.
Yeah, Jacob Green's on the ring, and Jeff Bryant, talk about another just underappreciated guy that he was close to that was on my list. I don't know why I didn't say him. Jeff Bryant was legit, just because once again the Diehards were legit, man. That was a good D line. Yeah,
so 1982 to 1996. That's just insane to think about. That.
Yeah,
that's a lot of eras, by the way. He like starts off, he's like, "Wow, this I'm gonna have a really promising career, like going to a lot of Super Bowls with this." And then the end of the decade comes, and he's like, "Oh." And then the 90s come, and then
the 2 and 14.
Yeah. So now, who would you guys say we did the underrated Seahawks? Who would you guys say is the most overrated Seahawk?
Wow. Overrated. That's a good one. Give me a second to think about that. Overrated.
I had 2 that could be on this list, by the way.
I have people that will the things I'm going to say are just going to piss people off for the first people that come to my mind, but
okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
For me, God, maybe it's recency bias, but Russell Wilson to me is very overrated. He was a large part of those Super Bowls, but I think he hyped himself up so much that he couldn't live up to that hype.
Mr. Unlimited?
Yeah. Right? Mr. 12 bathrooms? Yeah. And I hear lots of local stories how he would show up at Children's Hospital and visit with the kids. And that was great when he was a rookie. And then he stopped showing up less and less. I know people worked at Children's. And then when he did show up, he'd have an entourage and they're all recording it and showing, oh, look, here's Russell Wilson at the hospital visiting kids. Like it's just so that he could make his name sound better than it actually is.
Now, what do you guys think of the Sierra effect?
I think that's a big part where he starts to lose his mind.
And he goes Hollywood.
Or the whole Golden Tate thing, screwing his girl or whatever. I mean, like something might have happened that just made him.
Well, they both deny that, of course. But they both deny that.
Okay. Okay. True. It could be all made up. Who knows?
Yeah. I had on here, mine are kind of obvious, but
sure.
Overrated just because of the hype. I had
Bosworth.
But then I had just almost as equal with the hype was Rick Meyer. You guys remember back in the day? Like, remember it was the big draft, the big 93 draft? They were like, oh, dude. Right. I mean, it doesn't matter who you get, Bledsoe or Rick Meyer. It doesn't matter, man. Like these guys are both top-notch quarterbacks.
Just had Bledsoe.
Right?
I mean, Northwest guy too, and everything. Walla Walla, Blue Devils, baby. Come on.
I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed in that. But it is what it is, and he is what we thought he was.
He is what we thought he was. I mean, the Boz is the obvious one.
Sure.
And then my other one that wasn't very popular that gets people pissed off. I just was not a big Sean Alexander guy. I just didn't. I mean, he was productive, so I don't even know that. Like, it makes no sense. Something about him just bugged me.
Well, Ethan, we always talk about this. You get to run behind that line. I heard this guy talk about this the other day, and he goes, "Man, you go back and watch some of that tape. Like literally, the it's kind of like watching Emmett run in the early 90s with some of those. It's just
Give Brent's boy Barry
run
Sanders.
Run straight as fast as you can. And Sean Alexander was fast, but could he get those extra yards when, he's really pushing aside when he's on the goal line, right?
Yeah.
He really tried hard when he was on the goal line. But
give Barry Sanders that offensive line, he would have had like a 3,000-yard season. I think Sterling Sharp said something like that. It sounded ridiculous. He goes, you give Barry Sanders the Dallas Cowboy offensive line, that boy rushed for 4,000 yards. Like he said something like, when he was a pundit for ESPN at the time. But it's just like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's not a popular pick. There was just something about him that just kind of pissed me off at times. And I don't know, it was just me. Like I said, I was an angry, emotional fan a lot of the time and kind of a pessimist by nature. So it's probably maybe not fair, but just honest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right on. All right. So let's finish this episode off with how we think the Seahawks will do in the 2023/2024 season here. Brent, what do you think the Seahawks record will end up being this year?
I think we're going to take a step forward, not as big as I'd like, but I'm going to say we're going to be 10-7 this year. I think we're going to be again in the playoff hunt. I could even see us winning a round in the playoffs, make it to the second round of the playoffs, but pushing in the right direction. I think we're doing it the right way this time. We're building our defense young and just building that core team like we used to have back in the Legion of Boom days. And I'm pretty optimistic, pretty excited, and I'm looking forward to this season.
Nice. Ethan?
I'm looking at the schedule right now. I'm just trying to figure out like what AFC division we play, and we got to go against the Bengals. Got to go against like the Titans. I mean, it's kind of all over.
Cowboys.
Saying, yeah, there's like, and given the NFC is definitely a little more wide.
We got the
open.
Commanders though. We got the Commanders.
That's true. We got the Commanders. And it looks like the Cardinals are just absolute trash this year. I don't know if you saw that one thing. It was like all over where it shows like, hey, I went to their training camp, and like a ball hits the DB in the back of the head, doesn't even get close to the receiver, and he like falls down. It's like, it just looked like Spanky and the Gang or something. But knowing that, those bastards still come up here and give us hell every effing year because
every time.
So
same with the Rams.
God, doesn't matter who's good and who's bad. We just give each other hell. I mean, I'm excited. I feel like I'm a little nervous that because of the success we had in last year's draft, maybe some of these guys are getting over. Like we had such a great, whoa. As the great Bill Parcells once said, potential doesn't mean a damn thing because potential is all the shit you haven't done yet. Like I want us to slow the brakes, and I get nervous because I'm seeing league pundits that are picking us to win the NFC West. And I'm just like, okay, the last time I checked, man, the 49ers didn't get that much worse. And even if they have 30 quarterbacks, they all won games. So like, let's pump our brakes a little bit here and be realistic with the expectation. And given I am a pessimistic fan and more than like, I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop and always worst case scenario. My wife goes nuts as we watch the games together. And I'm like, well, we shut up this game. We're going to lose. Like we come back and win back in like the rest days or something like that. But yeah, so I'm going to go pretty similar to last year. I'm guessing we're going to make it into the playoffs. We're going to say, like, I'm just still not 100% convinced that Geno, he started off hot, was average at the end of the year, and I want him to be successful. I really like Geno. He's fun. I love the things he says. He just seems like a great guy. I love to see his story's excellent, but I'm not convinced that he is a day in, day out starter that can be super productive at the NFL level. I mean, my God, he's got the receivers. There's no arguing that this year. Yeah. And I mean, our offensive line is improving, albeit young. And so I'm really excited. I'm very optimistic as I can be, the heavy dose of realism. So I'll say 10-6 in one of the wild card spots, getting in probably behind the 49ers and hopefully, like Brent, I'll say hopefully make it into the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Brent in that, man, that defense, if it's as good as it's starting to look, they are quick, they are fast, they're like kind of reminiscent of the 2012 Seahawks, which is, I mean, if they can come anywhere near that, that'd be amazing. But I think that the Seahawks end up finishing the regular season at 11-6.
Oh, I forgot. With the stupid 17th game. My bad.
Yeah. They win the division. They host a playoff game, but they lose in the divisional round. What do you think of that? I mean, I'd love that, but I would love them to lose, but
no. That'd be a step that would be like anything into the playoffs where, especially if we get a home game, but secondarily, if we can get a win or two, that's like progression in the right direction because we're still freaking young.
Exactly.
It's a
I
young
think that's
team.
key though, too, right? I mean, that home field advantage in the NFL, especially in the NFL, is just so big. I mean, the losses that I have of the Seahawks are the long travel games and some of the top, kind of teams here. But like, I have the Seahawks. These are all. I think I have all away games, which is wild, but it's not outrageous with the Seahawks. And the home field isn't as crazy as it once was because tickets are pretty high, and there's a lot of people buying up those tickets just to be there. But I have the Giants, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Titans taking the Seahawks. I don't want them to, but I think that some of the long travel and some of the talent on some of these teams is it's pretty good right now. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. But you guys have any thoughts on our selections today or our predictions for this year?
Oh, I want to give an honorable mention for most overrated too. How about Mr. Percy Harvin?
Oh, that was a big
So
one.
hyped and just did nothing.
I'll tell you though,
he had one or two.
Percy Harvin saved our ass in that Super Bowl when he came out and ran for that touchdown. I don't know if he saved our ass, but he definitely added to the momentum of that Super Bowl. That was nuts.
Yeah,
So,
that's
He
true.
got dumped into a garbage can too by Golden Tate, didn't he?
Wait, was that the other way around? Wasn't that? Didn't he?
I
dumped-
don't remember. Yeah. One way.
got dumped in the garbage can. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's
Classic
great.
moment.
That's great. All right, guys. Well, hey, it's good having you guys on. I feel like I'm back in the basement, or not the basement. I feel like I'm back in the old bedroom,
the
Ethan's
garage.
bedroom. Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah,
old
yeah,
garage.
in the garage.
The shrine to adolescenthood. If only we had some pictures of like bikini girls and maiden tapestries, Iron Maiden.
I'm just wondering when Frank Schmieder is going to stroll in here. Frank,
Right? Randomly.
where's Frank? He was here earlier. Where'd he go? Frank, where'd he go? Yeah. So
Car's gone.
Classic.
all right, guys. Well, hey, now we want to hear everybody else's selections. So, how many games do you think the Hawks will win? Who are your picks for the most underrated Seahawks of all time? And is there anything else you guys like to add? Any of the players? Anybody?
Follow and like. And I don't know what Andy says at the end of the podcast. I love it. Love you, Andy Matlock.
Yes. Follow, like, comment.
Please
and
comment.
Add the channel, the Josh and Friends podcast. Yes. Let's do it. Let's get to, I don't even know how many people that follow me. I don't know, but it's not enough. We need more. So, all right. For Brent Kipling and Ethan McDonald, I'm Josh. And as always, thank you for being a friend.
Thank you for being a friend.